Hey guys, thanks for tuning us in for this 42nd episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. First off, I want to say thanks so much to my good friend Brandon Allen, who listened to the podcast and came up with our new theme music. And Brandon, you blew it out of the park, brother. Thank you so much. Now, special guests for this episode are going to include Amy Bruni. We'll also have Jay Wasley, Stacy Keach, and Dina Carter. If you would, please take the time to subscribe, drop a like, comment, leave some feedback, and share with your friends. Our first guest is Amy Bruni of Ghosthunters and the host of Kindred Spirits. She's got a new book, Life with the Afterlife, 13 Truths I Learned About Ghosts. First off, Amy, thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Now tell us a little bit, when did you decide that you needed to put the words down on paper in Life with the Afterlife? What was when was the light bulb moment, if you will?
You know, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but I felt like I was at a point in my journey that there was enough to fill a book. And honestly, there's probably enough to fill multiple books. But I was talking with my friend Julie, who's a writer, and she and I were just kind of brainstorming ideas. And I realized I wanted to do a memoir that kind of explained how I have arrived at these ideas about ghosts. And so it's part memoir, it's part like interviews with other paranormal researchers, and then it's also just filled with a lot of really great ghost stories.
And what do you think is the biggest misconception folks have whenever you bring up the subject of ghosts or the afterlife?
Well, I think the biggest misconception is that people think I actually know what ghosts are. I still to this day am not. I won't tell you for sure that ghosts exist, or I can't tell you exactly what they are. I can just tell you what my interactions with these energies and entities seem to be. I don't know how or why they're here, but I do have so many experiences that I can't explain that really that fall into line with research and things that have happened. Like, there's just no explaining them other than somehow we are communicating with the dead. And so that's my, I'm very, it's very easy for me to say, hey, I think something weird is happening, but I can't tell you exactly what it is.
And Amy, when was the moment that you knew the paranormal? When was it that the awe for that drew you in?
I had a very intense interest in the paranormal since I was a child. I lived in a haunted house, and it was a hobby for me. It was something like every weekend I would go to haunted houses. I would help families. I was part of different paranormal teams. And then I was working with my friends Jay and Grant, who have had the show Ghosthunters, and I was out with them for a couple seasons before I realized, wait, I can maybe do something with this. I love this so much. How can I make this my career? Because even then, I left a very normal job as a project manager to go on the road with Ghosthunters, and I just figured at some point I'd be back in the cubicle. But I thought, I really love this. How do I keep this going? And so I kind of made it my life's work.
And are there any, whenever people think about ghosts and the paranormal, they always think of the negative, of the mean. Have you ever seen any proof or if you will, of positive energies out there, not rather than just trying to scare people?
Oh, gosh, absolutely. So I always tell people, before you assume something is negative, just remember personality types. If you're dealing with someone who has passed away, or has been through something traumatic, or who was not a nice person when they were alive, that doesn't mean they're going to suddenly be a nice, friendly ghost. So, sometimes you meet people in the afterlife who don't want anything to do with you and who are mean, who will push you and scratch you and yell at you. And then you also meet other spirits who are very kind and who genuinely want something, who will say over and over, help me, help me. So there are very different, once you start realizing that people kind of carry over their personality into the spirit world, you kind of can recognize what you're dealing with.
And obviously you've seen professionally how things getting good feedback, if you will, from the shows. What's it like on a personal level to get the feedback on your published work as well? The reviews are trickling in, and it's really hard. For some reason, putting a book out is so intensely personal, and so
it got a really great review in the New York Times, which was huge for me. And I was like, okay, if that's it, I can take it. So I'm kind of trying not to watch like Amazon and Goodreads and stuff, but so far it's been overwhelmingly positive because it's just it's a fun read for people, especially this time of year. It's that kind of book you want to curl up with a cup of hot cocoa in front of the fire and scare yourself.
Now, did you from writing this one? Did you get the writing bug? Have you learned some ins and outs that you can take into book number 2?
Yes, definitely. Thankfully, so my friend Julie wrote this with me, and she really kept me centered because my brain is all over the place, and so she as long as I have someone who can keep my thoughts in line with me, then I can do this again. And so, yeah, we're already brainstorming for book number 2. So hopefully that'll be in the future. But I'm really excited for people to read this one and let me know what they think, because I think that will guide me more than anything.
And again, that book, Life with the Afterlife, 13 Truths I Learned About Ghosts. Amy, I always want to make sure and let folks know not only more information about the book, but where they can keep up with everything you got going on social media-wise as well.
Yeah, I'm all over social. It's all at Amy Bruni, AMYBRUNI. And so you can keep up with everything I'm doing, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it.
All right. And again, Amy, great to visit with you this morning. Hope you have a great rest of your week and best of success with the book as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Our next guest, Jay Wasley. We'll be talking about Ghost Adventures special episode that's going to be premiering Thursday night, Horror at Joe Exotic Zoo. That will air at 9 Eastern, 8 local time on Travel Channel. First off, Jay, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Now, Jay, obviously, the Joe Exotic Zoo is a hot spot, a hot topic. And what was your first thoughts whenever the idea of doing the Ghost Adventures at the zoo came up to him?
Yeah, I was excited. I was on board from the very start. As soon as I heard that we might be able to do it, I was like, yes. When the series came out at the beginning of the year, I think like the other millions of people, I was engulfed by it. I was sucked in. I was, just drawn to this crazy story and these characters and the twists and turns of it all. And so when I heard we were able to get in there, we were able to kind of add to the next chapter of it, I was 100% absolutely, we got to do this.
Now, when you guys go in, what are the biggest hurdles you guys have to encounter whenever people see you, whenever you've come to town?
Logistically, every investigation is different, so it's kind of tough. There's a lot of on the fly, like kind of in the moment things that we have to adjust for and get through. And this one was particularly difficult because it was kind of our first bigger investigation back during the pandemic as well. So it was kind of a whole new world of style of filming and how to approach things safely for everybody. So that, and then from a paranormal sense, this zoo, all the stories and the things we were hearing, and it's a huge place and a lot of ground to cover. So we kind of did, these blanket investigations. We did a lot of split ups to try to cover more ground, and then really dive in and focus on these hot spots where things happen, like the gift shop and Joe's old house, and there's an area called the Back 40, which no one was ever allowed to go to, which kind of has this whole mysterious area to it. So it was a really cool, unique investigation, and I think the approach definitely we caught a lot of amazing evidence. So I think it worked.
And where was your first inclination towards the paranormal? When was your first interest in it?
I was even as a kid, I remember being into it. I was kind of always fascinated by the unknown and myths and, different beliefs. And, I think it's an archaic part of all of us that we have this desire, the question of what is there anything beyond this world? Is there anything beyond this life? And I was always fascinated by that. And I remember as a kid having experiences, I had some crazy Ouija board experiences when I was a kid. And so I always believed it, and I was always fascinated and wanted to know more. And then real life kicks in. You kind of grow up, you get a job, you kind of get distracted from, that kind of way of thinking. And then when the show came around, and they actually reached out to me about 10 years ago to work on the show with them, and it just came flooding back. And it was just this beautiful little, it kind of just clicked. And then the four of us just molded together, and we realized that, like, we always talk about it, we joke today that, like, there's some kind of weird reason the four of us all came together, and it's kind of, we're still trying to figure it out, but we feel like there's a bigger meaning to it all, that just the four of us came together to be able to do what we do, and we're still doing it, and, to be able to explore the unknown and just to be able to do this. It's terrifying, but it's fascinating at the same time.
And Jay, how much has technology helped things, especially in the last few years?
Technology's definitely helped a lot, and we try to always keep up on new technology. We work with different engineers that develop things for us, or always kind of being aware. And what's nice about our show is that, we have the control, we have the freedom where it's just us, and we can try and do whatever we want. We're always trying to approach everything the same, not the same way. It's not just a cookie cutter show. Each investigation is unique and different. So we try to apply different techniques and different experiments. And the greatest thing, honestly, the best piece of equipment we have is our own bodies. From doing this so long, you learned how to feel things and how to sense things. I'm not saying we're psychics or anything like that, but once you're in a situation so much, you're hypersensitive. You're aware of something's going on here. And then it's moments like that we'll be like, all right, here something's happening. Let's pull out a device to measure maybe the EMF, the electromagnetic frequencies, or bring out a spirit box and try to capture a voice, or do a digital recorder. And technology today is just getting better, with, we have like structured light sensors and thermal cameras and full spectrum, these devices that can literally see in the dark, and where we can't see at all, and it's picking up some amazing evidence and kind of really exploring what is out there.
And what so far in your career, what has been the aha? What has been the one that was like, yes, that solidified everything that you've been doing so far?
Right. There's been a lot. There's been a few times. There was a moment where we were all super excited when I believe we were at the Goldfield Hotel out in the middle of nowhere in Nevada, kind of near Area 51, just literally out in the middle of the desert, this old hotel. And on camera, we caught, and I saw it happen live. I was watching the cameras. A rock is sitting on the ground, and it lifts up and goes flying down the hallway and hits Zach right in the foot. And I saw it happen live. We played back, watched it over and over again, and that was one of those moments where, like, wow, we caught, like, the holy grail on camera. Like, just this evidence was mind-blowing. And then I think a personal experience I'll throw out there was I was in an old saloon in Prescott, Arizona, in a crawl space where they felt like this evil entity was coming at us. And I'm crawling around in there, and I have a camera with me, and there's nothing there, and you can totally see it on camera. Something grabs my legs and actually drags me backwards through the crawl space. And I drop the camera and freak out, of course, but I can't just get up front. I'm in a crawl space. I'm kind of pinned in there, just losing my mind for a few minutes. And so that one personally got me, and I still think today, like, and it's just trying to figure out what could have that been, but there's no explanation for it.
And again, the Travel Channel special coming up Thursday night, 9 Eastern, 8 local time. Ghost Adventures Horror at Joe Exotic Zoo. And again, Jay Wasley on the line. Jay, I always want to make sure and let folks know where they can keep up everything about the show and all your socials as well.
Yeah, and travelchannel.com has all the info about the show. The show's on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. I'm on there myself. On Instagram, I'm Jay Wasley Film. On Twitter, just Jay Wasley. And that's the thing. Fans, people always reach out. Sometimes we find out locations from fans or evidence we might have missed from fans. We like to interact with everybody and, kind of try to include everybody in the grander scale of the investigation. So definitely feel free to reach out on social media.
All right. Well, Jay, it's been great to get to know you a little better this morning. Hopefully you have a great rest of your week and look forward to talking again real soon, my friend.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to get some sleep. Just got off an investigation a few hours ago.
Our next guest is voice actor and actor Stacy Keach. He's going to talk about his latest project, Sammynolie and Other Stories by Alexander Tsypkin, translated by Paul Lazarus. First off, thank you so much for always taking the time.
Well, it's my pleasure. Nice to talk to you, Cameron.
Now, Stacy, we always talk when you got something we're working on, and this is a very special release, Sammynolie and Other Stories. And Stacy, how did you get involved with the new project?
Well, I was approached by my dear friend and colleague Paul Lazarus. We go back to 1991 at the Pasadena Playhouse, where he was running the Playhouse, and he directed me in a production of Rupert Holmes' Solitary Confinement. It was a one-man show. It was very successful. Went on to the Kennedy Center, went on to Broadway, and we've been friends ever since. And he approached me. He said, "I've discovered this wonderful Russian writer, and Alexander Tsypkin, and I'd like for you to read one of his stories, and I'm going to gather a bunch of actors together, and we're going to make a recording. Would you be interested?" And I read it, and I said, "Wow, this guy can write." And so that's how this came to be. And wonderful actors that I'm also involved with, Jason Alexander, Vanessa Williams, Michael Urie, Rachel Dratch, Tim Daly, Granny Burstein, Noel Wiley, and we all each read one of these 10 stories. And this Alexander is I call him Sasha, is a fascinating guy. He speaks very good English, and in the introduction on the CD that is available, he talks about his American influence from Mark Twain and O. Henry, were the two authors that really influenced his work. And he writes in a very unique style. It's very human. Reminds me a lot of Chekhov, but he also has this dramatic suspense orientation, sort of. He writes in a thriller mode, and all of his characters are very interesting, very well delineated, and Paul does a great job translating it. So I recommend it to everybody.
Stacy, what are the challenges when you're laying your voice track down for a book as opposed to doing voice acting, or are they kind of synonymous with one another?
They are synonymous. The great challenge is after you record it is to figure out how you're going to upload it and send it to somebody. The glitches that occur along the way. We all become familiar with those glitches. I mean, and I've been doing a lot of Zooming lately, and that's full of glitches. But nevertheless, it's the world we're living in today. You know?
So is Zoom probably the biggest challenge you've had to face here in 2020 since the pandemic has arisen?
Absolutely, no question about it. Yeah, if you don't get you got to make sure your virtual background is right. If you're scrolling a script on Zoom and you what they call wandering eye syndrome, it's very interesting. So you've got to keep your eyes on that little green dot, and you've got to make sure that your green. I think we've discovered the green screen works much better than virtual background without green screen, because without green screen, you get wonky. Your hair starts to flare, and all kinds of weird things happen. You know, and the sync problems. I just finished Zooming David Story's home with a wonderful cast: Alfred Molina, Juliet Mills, Maxwell Caulfield, Anna Matthias, and the first act of the show was just slightly out of sync because there was an unstable connection with my computer that I didn't realize. So there are always these little, the challenges of acting in Zoom theater are, I think it's going to be the subject of a future book.
There you go. And Stacy, how excited are you to see a debut work come to the U.S. From somebody that most people have never known, but to have the kind of the following that you guys have really bought into it.
Oh, very excited. I think that, first of all, nobody really knows about him in the United States until now, thanks to Paul Lazarus, really, because he brought Alexander Tsypkin to life. We brought him to life, but at his direction and behest. But I think that people are going to be fascinated with these stories. I love my story particularly because it follows this young businessman on a cocaine mission down to Peru. He gets involved with these characters that are, very, very complex, and he writes with great suspense. And each one of his characters are very well defined, very well delineated. And again, beautifully translated by Paul. So I think that, and he also writes movies, so I think we're going to hear from him in the future once we get out of this mess and madness.
As always, great to visit with Stacy Keach. You can find out more information about the books. You can get the stories and the recordings and written texts at tsypkinstories.com. That's TSYPKIN stories.com. And our final guest is country singer and star Dina Carter. Got a new movie coming up this weekend, A Very Country Christmas Homecoming. First off, always good to visit with you.
You too. Thank you so much for doing this.
Now, Dina, when did the acting bug kind of catch you, if you will?
It's funny. I started it in high school and did musical theater there, and then in college as well, a little bit, dabbled in it. And I was in a series in Nashville in the late 80s, early 90s called Checkmate that never saw the light of day. It was sort of a Saturday Night Live kind of sitcom skit show, which was silly. And then my music career happened, and I got to have all these great opportunities in Hollywood with King of the Hill and Raising Dad and Strong Medicine and just some television first, and doing voiceovers and music for those things and playing a character in those shows. And then movies came after that. So I think this is my 6th film I've been involved in. So it's 3 in this series of the country Christmas movies with Up TV, which are just so much fun.
And how surprising is it how early we start celebrating Christmas? It seems like the last decade, you put the Christmas decorations up for about a week, and then it's time to get them back out, right?
I know. They say, when you get older, they say time goes faster, so I'm kind of blaming it on my age. But I think it also just seems like there's not enough time between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's like 2 weeks, it feels like. So by the time you get them, we used to wait. Like, we had this absolute that you did not pull out Christmas until Thanksgiving night. And then you would, go bananas with the Christmas stuff. So now it's just kind of hard that just doesn't leave a whole lot of time. But try to honor Thanksgiving. I still try to give them each their due. Thanksgiving deserves the gratitude for our country and everything. And Christmas is a very special time for us and the birth of Christ and what we celebrate. So they each need to be celebrated separately, in my opinion.
Now tell us about A Very Country Christmas Homecoming that's premiering this Sunday on Up TV.
I am just so thankful to be included. I have played the role of Jolene, who is sort of the town matriarch. She's this very seasoned artist herself that had a blooming career in her young life, and now she's settled into this small town with Zane and Jeanette, Zane is a very famous artist himself now and has had a successful career. So she helped mentor Zane when he was young, sort of a mother, sister-ish figure to him. And through each one of these films, she's also developed her own story and character. They've, pulled out more of Jolene's background. So she has a past, an ex-husband and a child and her career and everything. So this film really lets them branch out and expose that a little bit more and have more fun with my character, Jolene.
And Dina, like you said, you've been involved, this being the third of this series. How much different has 2020 made marketing that a new project for you?
Well, I'm telling you, Brain Power Studios are just amazing in what they do. They film this quick. These films get done so quickly and efficiently, and then they turn them around within the same year, which is impressive because the other films I've worked on have sometimes taken years, to come out. And this production company is just spectacular in their work ethic. So we wrapped the shooting of this movie in early March, and I was barely able. We shot it in Barrie, Ontario, and I just got out like it was the last day. They said at midnight we're closing the border. So it was early on for our crazy 2020 scenario that we've been in. But they have maintained getting it done, and we're sitting here doing, a couple of days of promotion, and it's coming out on Sunday. So COVID has not stopped them at all. It's been great.
And something I've been asking everybody as of late, especially, is what is the thing that you have learned from 2020 that you're going to be applying, something you had to learn and something you're now applying to your everyday life?
Well, I had to learn that I don't need to eat and drink so much. That's number one. Number two is that exercise really is imperative for your mental health. Like to get outside and walk, have some meditation, quiet time, talk to God, pour out your heart. We can't contain all of our stress and worries on our shoulders. You have to have a resource to go to. And for me, I say my prayers, and to help get through all of this and have some peace in my heart. That's been imperative for me. And outside of that, trying to, putting pins on the map for things to accomplish around the house, our renovations around the house. You may hear that in a few minutes because it's prime drilling and hammering time around here. But yeah, just personal inventory around, like in your sphere of influence, really is what this has been about this year. And not to get on a soapbox, but through tragic events, you sometimes grow from them and things can be positive out of that. And I think realizing that we do need our home life and we do need the people around us and we need interaction. I miss being with people and on the road and for work and all that stuff for sure. But being at home with family has been really, really cool.
That's right. And Dina, I want to make sure, again, remind folks about the premiere, also where they can keep up with everything you got going social media-wise as well.
Yes, actually tonight is our Wing It Wednesday. We do it every week at 6 p.m. Central. That's on my official Facebook page. On Instagram, it's Dina Tunes. On Twitter, it's Dina Sings. And my official YouTube channel, you can find all of our videos. So we do a little live middle of the week reprieve where we just wing it with some music and good news stories. My husband and I, we have a good time with that. And as far as the movie goes, it's going to premiere this Sunday evening, November 1st at 7 p.m. Central Time, or Eastern Time. Is that right? I think, it's 7 p.m. on Up TV. And you can check us out there.
There you go. Well, Dina, always great to visit with you. Appreciate your time today, and hopefully you can stay warm through the rest of the week.
Thank you. You too, and congrats on your season break. It sounds like y'all are transitioning on over to the Christmas season. So.
Some congratulate, some don't want to.
Yeah, well, it'll be good for Sunday night watching a Christmas movie, that's for sure.
There you go. Dina, have a great week.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Again, thanks for joining us for this episode of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. And if you ever have a comment, question, or anything else you'd like to know, find me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at GQwithCam. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, feel free to click the support tab and follow the instructions. If you have a special guest idea, email me, gqwithcam@gmail.com. We'll be back with episode 43 coming up tomorrow.